it will be 8. 5 is less than 8, so you know this particular element will be present in the left range. You go to this range, so you go to left, then 1 to 8 you calculate the mid is 4, 5 is in the right, so you go right, then 5 to 8, again the mid is 6, 5 is on the left, and then again left. You will update that. While returning, you return the minimum. I mean, even if you don't return the minimum, just look at the parent left child and update the minimum accordingly, and this way you can populate this change upwards. So initially it was working for the static case array, now it can as well work for the dynamic case. Another problem which could be solved with this is, like, suppose you are solving the problem of sum of elements. You are trying to answer the query that what's the sum of elements in the range I comma j. Instead of a minimum, we are trying to answer the query of sum. Again, the similar stuff will proceed like this only, and when we are updating any element, the leaf will be affected. Once the leaf is affected, you can calculate the new sum for the parent. When you go back, the children are done. They have the right value. So you just do the sum of these children, and you get the right value for the parent. And this way you can percolate up the change again. Yeah. So another issue is that, like, right now we were dealing with the case of an array with n elements. Now this interval tree can be built on any factor. So suppose right now we were building the complete structure of the interval tree, and the element n was the array size. So, like, if you are doing it for the array size or for that particular applications, typically if it's even 10 to the power 5, then also it works. But suppose this particular factor on which we are trying to build the interval tree is some weight of a graph or something, and its value is 10 to the power 9 or something. I have shown you the structure. In the interval tree structure, the leaves have a value range of 1. Yeah, the leaves have range 1. So leaves are 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Leaves are like that. So if we are trying to build the whole interval tree, we'll end up having 2 into 10 to the power 9 nodes in the interval tree, and our computer won't be able to support that particular amount of memory. In that case, like, what we do is that we create nodes at the time when they are needed. So initially there is only one range, let's say 0 or 1 to 10 to the power 9. Okay. Now suppose I am inserting some number, say 11 I am inserting. Then I'll do this. I'll calculate the middle element, and there will be two parts, basically left and right, and I'll be going only in one direction, either left or right. So if I have to go left, I'll create left, and if I have to go right, I'll create right accordingly. So this way we will end up saving a lot of space. Plus, this one property about this interval tree is that when we are looking for a query in this, we will never break the intervals into more than log n levels. How this comes up, I'll explain you. At each step, what we do is we break them into two parts and go to a range of 1 by 2. So if we started with n, we go to n by 2, either direction, and again n by 4. So clearly the depth of the interval tree would be log n base to the base 2. So since at each step we go one step deeper, we can't go deeper then log n to the base 2. So while inserting this particular element, which I have shown you the range is, the factor on which we are building the interval tree is 10 raised to 9, we will have an interval tree of depth log of 10 raised to 9. So in this particular case, initially if we were trying to build a complete interval tree, we would have ended up with 2 into 10 raised to 9 nodes. But suppose if we have to insert only 100 elements, we'll end up creating nodes 100 into log n to base 2. Let's move on to another problem then. I started my lecture with a problem C trick, which was like shuffling of cards. At each step, the magician, what he did was that at the first step he took first card, put it down, opens the top card, throws the top card away, then takes 2 cards one by one, puts them down on the pile, and then opens the top card, and in the second time it's 2, third time it's 3, fourth time it's 4. And we found a way to solve it by simple simulation, or by doubly linked list, or by queue. But I told you that the complexity wasn't that good for that problem. Now we'll see how we'll use this particular data structure to solve this problem. So in this particular problem, at any step we can view it as a circular queue or linked list or anything, and we'll be at some position, and we will be knowing how many cards are left in the pile, and we know how much steps we have to travel. At I steps we have to travel I steps, and then cancel the I plus 1th number. So instead of traveling whole I plus 1, what we do is, at this step we can figure out that which is the next number to cancel. So these are 9 nodes, and suppose the step is 30th step. This is the situation after the 30th step, and I am at this position. So after the 30th position, what I'll do is I'll be ending up making 3 rounds, because there are 9 nodes. I have to do 30 steps, so I'll end up making 3 rounds. That makes it 27. I'll be back there, and then the third element after that I'll have to cut. So this way what I'll do is, whatever steps I have, steps mod the number of nodes left. I do this. I take the remainder. That's the actual number of steps I have to travel. So now these particular elements, they are inserted in an interval tree. So at any step, what query I have to answer is, so I've explained you the interval tree. Interval tree is not circular. It will be a linear structure. So interval tree is like this, and few of the elements are present in this. Some elements are present in this, and this particular element will be having some position. So I'll query the interval tree. The position of this, I'll be knowing the position of this particular node where I have ended up in the interval tree from the previous state. And now I have calculated the exact I have to calculate the, I know the position of the other tree. I mean, I can calculate the position, but this particular node will divide this array into 2 parts, first half and the second half. So if we know the position of this, and that particular number which we have to delete is lying on this range, we can tell the interval tree to, I mean, we can apply a delete operation directly on the interval tree of that position. And similarly for this side. So we need not travel all those steps which we were doing in simulation. Any doubts? I'll take an example probably. Suppose presently I am on the 4th node and I have to delete the 7th node. Okay, so what I'll do is, in the interval tree, I'll pass this 7 because this 7th node is the factor now. The position is not the factor. So I'll say delete the 7th element from this interval tree. So accordingly that element will get deleted.
That's right. N square, right? Okay. So now let's say I tell you that there are actually 10 power 5 elements in this list, and now you need to do the operation. So you cannot use the array, right? So of course there's got to be some better way. That's why we are using segment tree, because that way we are going to achieve this task in n log n. Okay. So so what do you actually need when you are let's say I have a few elements. Now the problem is that let's say I'm at this element and I need to jump 2 spaces, right? There might be a few elements which have already been deleted. Let's say this was 3, 4, 5, 6. These 2 elements were already deleted, right? So when I'm actually supposed to jump 2 steps, I should reach here, because this is the first element and this is the second element, right? So basically I'm searching for an index such that if my current index is I, then index minus I minus number of elements that are deleted between I and index is equal to 2. Is this okay? So if you have it in interval that these many elements are deleted, so you can just do a query. You get this point, right? This point is clear to everybody? Okay, great.
Exercise problem is frequent on Spoj. The problem is to find the maximum occurring element in a range. That's the mode of a range.